So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Ladies, gentlemen, caretakers of okay, seriously, like, how can you be alone on an island by yourself waiting for your death when there are literal sentient animals walking around taking care of you? Their name is caretakers. Come on! Welcome to this episode of Hell of a Pilot. Today, on my left is my beautiful girlfriend, who is doing some photo editing. I say that because we're not at Mike's house. And we're not at Lockie's house either. It has been a terrible day for car accidents and rain, and it would have been like a 3-hour drive to get to Mike's house. So we decided, you know what? We have the internet, we have technology, and yeah. Hey guys.
Hey man, what up?
What's going on, Lockie?
Oh, not too much. Just kind of hanging out, recording the next episode of the podcast that cannot be discussed on the official FFG forum because our name auto-censors.
That's why we're H3ll of a pilot.
Yeah. Seriously, the official F Fantasy Flight Games X-Wing forum has this auto filter. If you type in any swear words, the word doesn't pop up. And apparently hell is a swear word, so if you try to write hell of a pilot, it doesn't work.
It's a quote from Star Wars, like, what is going on?
Yeah, exactly.
I shared a link to one of our episodes there once. It even censored the URL.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was asterisk of a pilot at podbean.com.
Oh.
Well, did the URL still work?
Yeah, it did. I just thought it was just really funny.
So bad. How are you, Mike?
Look, I'm doing good. I'm just thinking we should change our name to asterisk of a pilot.
Yeah, I definitely. That's a thing. I can't believe that.
We can call it the 4 asterisks. Yeah.
The 4 asterisks.
Yeah. No, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm looking forward to this. We've got to, and also because this is exciting. Because also thank you to our director of social media, who's rapidly becoming general manager of social media, Lachlan.
If he works really hard, he could become CEO of social media.
He could. He's in line for that bonus.
Yeah, he's in line for that bonus. You could get a 1,000% increase of your pay.
That's still zero.
Listen, it's still a 1,000%. Look, technically, it's an infinite increase. Percentage increase.
Yep.
I don't get any money. You guys told me I'm not allowed to mine the listeners' data. There's really no point to me doing this job at all. What am I in this for?
We just pass it off to a third party company.
Some of you may have seen me start a little company called Hell of a Pilot Analytica, but don't worry about it.
We're not doing that.
No.
Is that worth saying? We're not doing that?
No, I deny everything. But actually, no, before we went down that tangent, I think...
Wait, is any of us on a booster seat?
I think that's... Yes.
Alright, Mike, tell us, what are we going to talk about in this show?
We thanks to Lockie, we asked to talk... Well, we wanted to know what you, dear listener, wanted us to talk about.
And my God.
And we're excited. There was fantastic response and fantastic suggestions.
So it was...
There was true balance in the Force. I just want to say, true balance in the Force.
There
was. Like 49.5% dark and 10.5% light. It was...
So just a quick note for anyone who's not following us on Facebook. What we did was we put...
Why are you not following us on Facebook?
Well, yeah, that.
Yeah, I need your data. No, I don't. Sorry.
Well, in this case, we did actually want some data from you, but we asked first. See, what happened was we'd been getting some messages and some comments, and just seeing the general sort of the way the winds were blowing online was people had maybe wanted us to do a slightly more, I won't say negative, slightly more critical episode, because we don't usually do that. So I put a poll on the Facebook page just saying, look, do you want us to do a negative critical episode or not? and you had 2 days to vote in that. I think for a whole day, the votes were literally 50-50, which was not helpful at all. But eventually...
Thanks, guys.
Look,
Thanks for telling us exactly what you wanted.
So yeah, the categories were simply salty and not salty, and not salty was 50.5%, so it was 55 votes to 56 votes.
Wow.
So it was 1 vote away from a tiebreaker, 1% away. So
Great response, though. Thank you.
Look, the comments we got essentially just boiled down to we should be a bit critical, certainly more critical than we usually are, but don't go full negative. So that's the plan.
Hell of a pilot unleashed.
Yeah.
Or hell of a pilot gone wild.
But not too wild.
Everybody, we're going streaking.
That's right.
I'm at my house. I'm already naked. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Okay.
Webcam off. But yeah, so tonight the subject of conversation is a loose blend between things that people say are broken but aren't broken, and the stuff that we have a bit of a problem with. And then, Owen, I think you've got the law section.
I do.
Cool.
I have the law section. That's the thing.
Sweet.
No, I will not tell you, because I like keeping it a secret.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, I like surprises.
Well,
Surprises. Yeah.
we better get on with this then if we're going to find out.
Alright, on with the show.
Good morning, citizen, and welcome to your daily HONET News Report. For our top story this hour, the head of the Imperial Information Bureau reminds you to be patient when it comes to the dissemination of news to the general public. Fresh news articles updating you to the goings-on of your empire are being written all the time, even if you have to wait several months to read them. He says, although the wait may be irritating, nothing can be done about it, as the frequency with which these articles are released is the sole discretion of the Bureau's Freedom of Facts Group, or FFG. FFG knows you're waiting for news. FFG knows there hasn't been an article for 10 weeks. FFG knows the community has been speculating intensely since their last article and are growing frustrated, but FFG will release a new article when they're good and ready. And now to close this morning's broadcast, some dietary advice. It is well known that diet is closely linked with the health of our citizens, and the Empire believes that a healthy citizen is a happy citizen. In that spirit, we present a message from the Imperial healthcare practitioners who have become concerned that our citizens are consuming too much salt. Everyone likes a little salt, and a certain amount is in fact necessary, but it's vitally important not to have excessive amounts of salt in your diet, or indeed your life. You don't have to like everything that's out there, and if it's not to your taste, of course it's okay to add a little salt, but also be sure to stay vigilant and keep those sodium levels under control. That's all for this morning's broadcast about diet. Tune in for tonight for our broadcast on metaphors. This is HONET News.
Oh, that's one of your best. I love it.
I see what you did there.
Actually, it was good. My girlfriend's a journalist, and I asked her when I was writing this, what's the difference between an analogy and a metaphor? And she was like, why? And I went, actually, never mind.
Yes.
That was excellent. So, Lockie, you want to kick us off?
All right. Well, I think if we're going to discuss things that are broken and things that are problematic for the game, we sort of have to define that as things that are fact and things that are opinion. So, like, just for example, something in the game that I really don't like is I'll show you the dark side. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I think it's bad.
That specific or conditions generally?
No, just that one condition.
That one?
I think that the suppression one from Captain Rex, I think that's quite reasonable. I think it's a good mechanic. A score to settle is kind of fun if you're willing to play with it.
But no one uses it because of that flip side of it.
Exactly.
It has a negative cost,
and Thweek, the conditions for Thweek, both of them are really good.
Yeah, true.
I don't enjoy I'll show you the dark side. It doesn't make sense to me that it goes through shields. I like to fly low agility ships, so against me, it works too well. I just don't like it, but it's not broken.
No, but look, I don't think it's not dominating in the sense that you could have made and I think the argument was correct if you would have said, like, say, a year ago, prior to the Palp nerf, people could make the argument that it wasn't maybe, and this is, you have to be careful, there's broken, I think of it as a spectrum. From all the way which is broken to overpowered to just right to the other thing which is well balanced. And if you think that's a scale, so on the rest of it.
So it's like the scale going from pre-nerf Zuckus to...
Yeah, like I tell you,
That was bad.
Actually, that's if you want me to sort of dig out a barrel of salt, we can talk about Zuckus,
But yeah, so look, I'm freely admitting that I'll show you the dark side. Not liking it is just my preference, and there's no data to suggest that it's broken or overpowered.
No, it's not dominating. It's not dominating lists. I mean, I think it can be frustrating, and I think what it bleeds into is there's overpowered, and then I think there's another category which I would put into what you would call negative play experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's a different thing altogether, and I think I'll show you that, yes, I've been Imperial, yes, I have flown Kylo. Do I use it? Yes, because it's legitimate. Is there a reason why I've used it? Yes, because I know there are lots of low agility ships out there. As an Imperial player, I see that as one of the sort of a hard counter to the swarms of Mirandas and Nims and Lock Revenants and all those kind of things which are floating around there. Do I agree it's a negative play experience for the other player? Yes, because I can see how it's like, I don't know, it's like making your opponent roll dice for their bomb damage. It's you know?
Stop hitting yourself.
Exactly, you know what I mean? I mean, it's look, and again, you know, that's another thing. Like, I think you have to put that into there, because I think ultimately what you want from this, yes, you know, there's a competitive scene. I will put myself very much firmly in the camp of casual. I don't enjoy the competitive scene anymore.
I think when I started this, when we started this podcast, I was very heavily in the competitive scene, and I've just gone full casual.
Yeah, and you did well.
Dirty casual. Yeah. But you know what? I kind of enjoyed the game more for it.
Yeah.
Most of the games I've played are with you guys, and I love it. You know?
Yeah. I think in that respect, but look, I think if we could talk about broken, we talk about overpowered, I think I would actually add a third category, which is probably where I would be more talking to in this session, which is negative place experiences, which I think, you know, it doesn't help the game. I think it can be off-putting to new players. I can think it can be frustrating for even experienced players. And I'll show you the dark side potentially into that category, because... You know what?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
How about this?
Yep.
Negative play experience.
Yep.
Not overpowered at all. I think here's a good one. Tractor beam.
Yeah.
Tractor beaming someone onto a rock. Negative play experience. Like, you've carefully maneuvered those asteroids. It'd be a shame if someone were to put you on an asteroid. But you know, we all know it's not overpowered. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But that is a solid negative play experience.
Goes double if someone tractor beams you onto the back of a rock, because then you have to still touch it next turn as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you add that lower agility thing onto it as well. But again, look, I agree. Oh, and I think that's a good one to call out. I think it's, again, negative. Is it overpowered? Is it broken? No. If it was, we would see, you know, the skies filled of tractor beam archetypes. But we're not. It does bring me to one which I think is going to be a little bit controversial, and I think there's been a lot of discussion about this. This is where I think something which bleeds into both our overpowered and negative play experience, and that is a recent upgrade, and that is the good old Harpoon missiles.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna talk to you on this, because I'm firmly in the camp that Harpoon missiles are fine.
Yep. Which button hangs up on him? Which button hangs up on him?
Okay, wait on. Where is it? That's that one there.
Cool.
Okay,
that's block, but that will do.
No. All right, defend Harpoons. Defend him. Come on.
Go.
If you do it, you need to listen. This is a proper discussion.
Yeah, no, it's good.
The missile above it, slightly more expensive, still
Homing.
like one point more expensive concussion missile, guaranteed crit on top of you know.
It's just a hit. The concussion missile just hits.
No, I think are you thinking it's the pro? It's the I'll have a look. I think it's the proton or the one above it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
a torpedo.
basically, it's 1 point more. This harpoon missiles is 1 point less, and honestly, I very rarely see it proc. And if it does proc, damage everyone around you,
Homing missiles.
You're most likely going to be damaging other people's ships as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my experience playing with it, firstly, it's a missile, so it has all the drawbacks of a missile, basically the arc. And it's fine. I just don't think it's very overpowered. I just think it's a missile.
What you just said about rarely seeing the effect go off, I agree with you completely. I think I've seen it very few times. I know I've only done it once, but it's just sort of it's the efficiency of it. It's too easy.
Because you're not spending a target lock, you're keeping a target lock.
Yeah, it's cheap and it's easy.
So for 4 points, it's the. So if we're talking about the homing missile,
yes.
So there are some differences between that. There's the 1 point difference, which you might say, okay, 1 point, but if you can fit, if you can fit 2 or 3 missile carriers with that's 3 points. You're shaving off your squad, which is a lot. In a squad there as well, but also I think Lachlan, and I'll just confirm this, but it's the target lock situation. So if we're looking at, I just want to make sure, homing missiles, no, discard this card. So yeah, it's fine. So in that respect, so look, it's
the same.
Yeah, the defender
it's
cannot.
It's just 1 point cheaper.
Yeah,
with a cool effect that very rarely happens, but when it does happen. I understand, TIE swarms don't like it because you shoot a couple of these missiles and all the TIE swarms blow up at the same time.
Like I said, I've played infrequently this year for various reasons. I saw it last night. I noticed, but that is anecdotal evidence. I noticed it proccing quite a few times. Look, I think I'd love to hear what our listeners think. So if you want to do, we can have why don't we have this
argument in the comment section.
Is this
go.
And go. I can see people furiously typing in there. It's not broken. No, it's broken. Yeah.
Well, it's a combination of things though. It's the fact that it's really efficient because of the lack of having to use the target lock. But consider the wave, or not the wave, but the time it came out in. The gunboat, for example. Yeah. Like the gunboat, if you get a target lock on the opponent and don't spend it, if you're willing to maybe if you don't spend that target lock, maybe you don't get as many hits, but then as soon as you reload, because the harpoons came out around about the same time as reload, you can just keep using that harpoon over and over and over. A gunboat, you spend 4 points on it, and all of a sudden it just gets to use harpoons forever. But
it still follows the drawback of it, which is you need to be at range 2 to 3. You need to have the target lock, and you need to have reloaded it, basically.
Yeah. So look, Owen, I'm listening to you. I'm thinking, and look, like I said, I'll be honest with you, I haven't played frequently this year, so I've done some cursory investigation of List Juggler to look at see what's been.
Oh, that's a good point. What's on List Juggler?
And look, I should have pulled the data together. And there's the other X-wing, which is the X-wing squads. It's the archetype one where it pulls together what's the most commonly played ships and the most commonly played squads and stuff like that. So what you're seeing is like the Miranda Nim combo dominating, and that's the ordnance and the harpoon missile. So they're generally carrying that with Sabine and a bomb generator and stuff like that. I tried flying that for the first time last night. Did badly with it.
You need the practice.
You need the practice with it, and that's okay. But I can see look, it's a fun list and all the rest of it. But look, Owen, I think you've shifted me a little bit. I'll be honest with you. Is it overpowered and broken? No. Is it potent? Yes.
Yeah. On that cusp.
It is. It's on the cusp there.
See, I think the Miranda Nim build, it's so efficient because even if you don't get those torpedoes, those missiles, you get in TLT.
You got
Yeah.
and bombs. So look,
And bombed.
yeah, and look. So the Miranda, those two ships, and I guess sort of if we want to sort of continue along this on this, we were talking before the show, and I was thinking, so if I was to broaden the conversation outside of specific cards or specific pilots or builds or anything like that, do we think the game is in a healthy place? I would argue yes.
Yeah.
But compared to where we were, say, a little while ago when we just saw Jump Masters and and stuff like that, I think I think my again cursory glance of the list juggler stuff and the tournaments, and I was looking at the regional results around the world. You're seeing a variety of stuff being flown, but with especially the Rebel convoy type stuff really dominating at the moment. So Shithapede, the Wookiee gunship, Miranda, Nim, doing really, really well. Palp Aces has made a bit of a resurgence, and I've also noticed that quite a number of Imperial AAA squadrons, which are kind of kicking around and doing okay, which again, that's my favourite archetype, if I have to say. It's 3 aces. That's the thing I enjoy flying most. Having said that, and this is personal opinion, so I don't think the game is terrible. I don't think it's broken, but I think it is inherently much more complicated than it was when we started, in terms of every wave has introduced a new level of complexity. And so I think what we have now in place is, and actually my girlfriend said this to me the other day, it's put up a bit of a wall and a barrier between the new player. And so coming in, you're now facing, all these ships and combinations, and a lot of them are high efficiency. They just do a lot of damage, really, really quickly. And I think it sort of can be overwhelming and intimidating, I think. And I think the reason X-Wing became such a worldwide success to become the number one tabletop game was because of its accessibility and the fact that you could get into it easy. And I think that's my. I'm not saying it's not anymore, but that's my concern. It's now at the point where it's a little bit like Magic the Gathering with spaceships. It's like, build your deck, and then and again, some people like that. I would say that's personal preference. So taste. I don't think you can sort of that's hard for me. I enjoy that less.
I do.
Lockie, prove him wrong.
Well, that's the thing, is that I can't prove him wrong, but I just want to sort of divide X-Wing in half. Yeah. Though there's the casual and there's the competitive.
Yes.
Like when it comes to the casual game, like what you were saying a moment ago about diversity.
Yeah.
I agree, because with every wave that comes out, there is more to fly. Which means that until Wave 14 comes out, we have more ships at the moment in the game than we've ever had, obviously. Which means there's more out there that you could possibly use.
Correct.
And in the casual, people do. Because they go, I've got this new thing, a thing I've never flown before, especially when they're new. You see threads online, people saying, okay, guys, what ship do I buy? And people wanting to just trade cards with each other. So you go to a casual night, and you'll sometimes see people putting a list on the table, and you sort of think to yourself, what the hell... what is their plan here? I have no idea. But then you go to the casual games. Sorry, not the casual, the competitive games. And that's when everyone's flying Harpoons and TLTs and Lowrick and Regen and all that sort of stuff.
Lowrick,
and
etc.
And the reason they do that at the competitive side of things is because it's about the efficiency.
Yep.
And that's why it's so negative, is because it's no longer a game. It's like I've been to tournaments to compete. I've been to tournaments just to watch, and some people there, you can just see the game side of things has been stripped away. Like I still remember, and stop me if I've talked about this before, the first time I ever flew against Trip Scouts pre any kind of nerf.
Yeah, when it first came out.
Yeah, the guy beat me in about 10 minutes. And I just thought, I'm not even exaggerating. It was such a short game. He left the tournament to go get something to eat, and I just thought, like, why do you hate the game so much? that you have tried to play less of it, that you've come up with a list so efficient. You're like, oh, this playing of the game is in the way of winning, so I'm going to try and cut out. So it's sort of like that's and by the way, I'm not trying to paint too negative a picture of people who go along to tournaments. Like, it's a thing to do. Like, go along and do it. But it's a different
mindset.
world. Like, you have to be efficient. Like, it's how you do anything well, is find the efficient thing and do it.
Yeah, look, and I think the competitive scene is Darwinian, so everybody's reaching for the most... and that's fine. And look, and some people enjoy that competitiveness, and for some people that's where the pleasure comes from, finding that right combo, finding that right kind of formula, and then methodically applying that and stripping the soul from their enemy. And that's if that's what you want, I say all power to you. I think that's legit. I think again, for me, and I'd assume a lot of our listeners probably fall more in the casual kind of in spectrum, if I could say that.
I think we sort of sell ourselves as the casual podcast.
And that's it, and that's okay. So like for me, the essence of the game still comes down to what is it that I love about X-Wing. Star Wars, obviously. You know, that's what made me pick up the models, but it was the community and the friendships and everything that I got out of that. So
yeah, well, you know, I met you, Mike, from X-Wing.
Same. Both you guys.
Yeah. Well, that's
this
how...
podcast is not a series of friends who have known each other for years and years. No, we literally met to play X-Wing. And
X-Wing brought us together, and it's also, you know, I would say a lot of the community and also the listeners here as well. We've had the good fortune to speak to and meet many listeners, and so again, I'm not down on the game. I think it's relatively healthy, but I there is some aspects which, for me as an individual, I'll be frank, I enjoy less than I did.
Oh, I just thought of another one.
Yep.
What do you guys, I want both of your opinions on expertise. What do you guys think of expertise?
4 points.
I don't mind it. I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I think 4 points, it's a big investment for 4 points.
Yep.
And it's good. I don't mind it. It's one of those things. It's efficient. It's not overpowered.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Could we say, you know, looking at this, could we sort of, I'll withhold my opinion. Can we point to anything at the moment in the current, let's say the game, and again, you know, I'm bearing in mind I'm not really on top of the meta scene and what's hyper competitive, but can we really point to anything and say that one thing is really bad and is distorting the game? Say, like, you could have a year ago have sort of said contracted scouts, bigs, Zuckus or something like. Look, that's the question I'm putting there.
The Phantom 1 title for the Ghost is a problem.
Yeah,
because it allows the Ghost to use TLT twice in a turn, and that's ridiculous.
So you're effectively pushing out 4 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost guaranteed.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could be super cool and do the Auto Blast turret, where it's when you're close range, it's 4 damage guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
Yeah,
with
that never happens. No one plays that.
You combine that with accuracy corrector.
Yeah.
And then, look, what's that? More damage? Oh, yeah.
Actually, it reminds me. I loved flying the Ghost back in the day. It was a good ship. It was I had a lot of fun with that. And look, I had a chat to a couple of people last night. We were talking about this, and I was sort of partially corrected, which is correct. Like for me, you know, the reason I like X-Wing is because I like the sensation of your dog fighting, your weaving, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think, you know, and someone said to me, I think it was a friend of the show, David. He said, "Well, look, it wasn't really like that. There was never a time of pure X-Wing when it was just pure dog fighting," and I think that is correct. Yeah. But I don't know. It seems to me there is a strong preference towards big base turreted ships.
Yeah, because it's easier.
It's
it is easy.
And I would say again, well, not big base, but to turrets. Turrets, I think I'm going to say turrets in terms of the archetypes of ships are prevalent and very strong and dominating. in many ways.
It's like in Australia we got this thing, the cane toads, which and you should know all about this. Yeah, cane toads.
I know about cane toads.
So
I know plenty about them. What about them?
Yeah. So to sort of explain why I just said this insane thing, in Queensland, in our northern state in Australia, where Owen is from, there were these.
Go the Maroons.
Yeah, there were these insects killing the sugarcane. So the government or some group or other imported these toads and released them, thinking the toads would eat the insects, and the toads didn't eat the insects, and now they've bred to plague proportions, and we have an introduced pest animal that doesn't work. And it's like in The Simpsons, they had the lizards, so they got the snakes, and then so it was just stupid. Like, what I'm getting at is we had this problem with arc dodgers, so then turrets became more prevalent, and now we have a problem with turrets. It's like Hotshot Copilot came out, so then expertise came out.
Yeah.
So now a stress meta's coming back. Like, you can't just do stuff like that in a game and expect everything to be okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, look, I suppose, it's so I suppose the challenge from a design perspective is you can't, like, people put out a call for X-Wing 2.0. I don't think that's possible.
No.
Not possible, no.
I don't think it is. I think what you have is a game where you have iterative development and tinkering, and I think FFG have been doing that. I think a lot of the ships have come out have been intended to sort of are very much cast in that iterative model.
Okay, so here's
go.
one for you.
Yep.
Let's move on to ways to actually fix the game. What do you think, Lockie? Like, if you playing our armchair CEO, what would you do?
I reckon that, look, I'll preface this by saying it's pretty difficult to retroactively change things once something's been out for a certain amount of time, and it's certainly on physical media, but not impossible, just difficult. I guess arcs probably need to be more important, like Miranda's ability, if it only worked in arc, would be good, same as Rey in the Falcon and Dengar. Like, they both have really powerful abilities, but they're arc dependent. If Miranda was arc dependent, that'd be good. If the rule in the rule book that said, like, just a little amendment that the secondary weapons not giving bonuses at range 3 was only in arc, that way turrets are sort of solved, because, for example, ion cannon turret and synced turret wouldn't be affected because they're range 1 to 2, but then anybody being shot by TLT is getting a green dice in defense.
Yeah.
I mean, that really buffs auto thrusters, but look, if you made the game more about the firing arc, that would help. Like, I actually think it
becomes
good.
more about the flying.
Well, yeah, like, I think it's good that Palp Aces are coming back.
Yeah.
Because I like that the three factions have their thing. Rebels having the slow ships, Imperials having the arc dodgers, and Scum wrecking the game. I like that they have. I like that each. Like, just to be clear, Scum isn't wrecking the game, but I like that the Imperial theme of the Aces is coming back. So yeah, like, I just think make the game about the firing arc, and you're set.
Yeah, look, that's, if I was, not dissimilar to that. I was sort of, when you asked that question, I was kind of like, I was not struggling, but I was thinking, well, what would I do? And I think, Lachlan, you've hit on something there. It's not a case where I'd say, well, nerf this ship or get rid of this card and all that kind of stuff, because I think this game just evolves anyway. So whatever's the top of the meta now will change in 6 months or 12 months or something like that. But I agree with Lachlan. I think, and again, personal preference, bringing it back to that being that arc dependent, I think is interesting, because again, that it comes back down to flying. It's sort of for me, and I think, yeah, I'll be honest, that's sort of like, when I enjoyed the game most, and when I felt like I felt more confident. I'll be honest, when I felt more confident and when I was sort of really into it was when I've got my little TIE interceptor, I've got my little dog, and I'm just kind of zooming around and doing stuff. And for me, the pleasure was coming from planning the moves, anticipating the other player's thing, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas now, when I'm playing somebody, it's like, okay, how do I mitigate the guaranteed 4 hits coming through?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like that's what my planning is. My planning is not, okay, how do I anticipate this? How do I think about 2 moves ahead, and I want to position my arc dodger or my jouster? It's kind of like, how am I going to stop the bombs? How am I going to stop? How am I going to stop the sort of the 4 TLT hits coming in? I know how I'll do that. Token stack.
Yeah.
Oh, what would you do then?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've said this before, and I maintain it. We're at a point in X-Wing where there is 15 waves, 14 waves?
Something like that, yeah.
I've lost count. I've literally lost count.
Yeah.
And Magic the Gathering, that's a horrible name, has this thing where they can only play the cards from the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So, I reckon it would be cool and would be smart is the way they could fix the meta is that every 6 months or whenever they release the next wave of ships, they remove one before it. So let's say we duck it down, we say wave 15, the wave 11 to 15. That's all you can play from now on. Now what that means is that you can have things like bringing out the X-Wing again. Makes that more feasible because we still want to fly X-Wings and re-releasing it with different things inside the box, and then it's tournament ready. But that doesn't mean you can't keep ships specific cards that.
Yeah, the one that came in the TIE silencer, the 4-point system that changes an enemy's hit to an eye.
Oh, well, there you go. Something like that, something along those lines. So what it means is that when a new wave comes out, the wave leading up to that has been removed. So if there is something that is absolutely terrible for the game, jump masters or whatever.
Sensor jammer.
Sorry. Sensor jammer. In 6 months' time or in a year's time, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come back unless you're playing casually. In casual games, you can fly whatever you want. So you're not going to see these super duper builds. They'll come and they'll go. Yeah.
No, look, I think, you know what, Owen, I was initially thinking how would you do that, but I actually think that's a really interesting idea because it would prompt all kinds of different kinds of squads and variety and stuff like that. So, and also allows FFG to push out, the older models on a regular basis with upgrades and to say this is now Wave 16. So, look, I think that's interesting. Because the other thing is, I suppose people wouldn't want to feel as though their past purchases have been made redundant. That's the only thing I would.
That's what I'm saying. With let's say a new wave comes out and it's an X-wing and a Y-wing. Yeah. Why would you buy the X-wing and Y-wing? Oh, well, maybe these times are new, but that's not the only place you get them. You also get them in the other ships that have come out. So you can still use your original X-wing and Y-wing. Yeah. And just that's armchair CEO.
All right. Well,
sorry. No, I had. Sorry, I don't know. We've been gone on for a while, and there's probably a lot we haven't covered. So look, one thing I'd throw out there is give us an alternative to the 100-point mode, like another game mode which is viable and interesting. Yes, I know ships come with missions, and all the rest of it. But if you think back to, how much we enjoyed doing the H3ll cluster, which was the sort of RPG...
narrative gaming.
The narrative gaming. And, they've introduced narrative gaming in Legion and stuff like that. So, I'm not saying they need to do, a full-on H3ll cluster where it's, this big, massive campaign. But, I don't know. I think there's some potential there because I think I'll be honest, part of my... I suppose, I think disenchantment is probably the wrong word, but it's kind of it's the same 3x3, 6 rocks, 100-point game.
Yeah, sometimes you're playing and you think, I've done this, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's kind of to sort of, and it could be supported in different ways. It's sort of like, add some elements to the game that included some objectives or just a narrative aspect to it or thematic aspect to it.
Putting you both on the spot. I'll go first.
Go.
Narrative gaming that isn't 100 points, shoot each other, go. I'll start with capturing objectives. And
yes.
After you place your
yep.
6 rocks on the table,
yep.
you place. Each person takes turns at placing a marker.
Yep.
And then if you can get to that marker before your opponent does, and they
yep.
have to be an exit a certain distance away from each other, then you get that. And if let's say there's 5 markers, the person who gets 3 wins.
Yep. And you got to stop the other person.
And it's an action.
Yeah. Yep. And it's an action.
And you have to survive the round.
Yep. Yep. No, I like it.
Or like battle in Mario Kart, there could be little markers on the map that you fly over it, and it lets you pick up a card, and the card's a secondary weapon, like a heavy laser cannon or a harpoon missile or something. Even if your ship doesn't have that slot, you can still use it, but you use it once, and then you have to discard it and pick up another one.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, yep. I would say I'd like to see something thematic. So it'd be something like, I don't know, it's sort of, and look, you can do this yourself, but maybe it could be sort of like the Battle of Scarif or the Battle of Hoth or the Battle of Endor or something like that. Something which involves an objective. Sort of like, I don't know, there's like, in a Turi cluster, there is a turret on this asteroid and you have to destroy it and the other team has to support it. Or something like that.
Yeah, it has X amount of health, and it also...
Yeah, it has shields and health, or you can have a mobile gun platform. Oh, actually, no, I can see that being broken. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there could be, like, objectives like that, which could, could be a Death Star attack. So, like, you've got to clear these 2 turrets to allow the mission to go through, and you've got
the Hawk to the other side of the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Escort missions. Escort is a classic. I mean,
they'd be official, printed on proper cards, like
Correct.
the Legion ones.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's an element.
But, all right, we are definitely running over time, so just very quickly, both of you guys, just to make sure that we've talked about everything we said we would.
Yeah.
What is something that you hear people complaining about and saying is broken that you think is not?
Harpoon missiles. Already done.
All right. Well, Mike, then, what's yours?
Oh, you were wrong. I get it. I'm reading the writing on the wall, guys.
I mentioned it before too, Kylo. Kylo condition, yes, it's strong, it's negative, but I don't think it's broken. Yours?
I don't think Lorik is broken. I agree that it's strong, and that's why it's really popular, but like the reinforced token, I don't think is as bad as people say it is. Like, it's a 1 agility ship, guys.
Like, just shoot it more. Come on.
And if Lorik is spending its reinforced token to keep a friendly alive, like he can only do that once per turn, and it's only 1 missed damage. So if you stack all your guns against the 1 enemy you want to die, like, yes, Lorik will assist it, and that will suck for you. I acknowledge that, but also like guns on, anyway, just the reinforced token of Lorik just doesn't bother me that much.
Okay, well, that was a very interesting conversation. Let's move over to law.
Cool.
To defeat an enemy, you must know them. Not simply their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art.
Okay, so this is a lovely conversation we're going to have about a lovely group of people who are lovely. They're just trying to get, maybe you just pay them some protection and, you'll be fine. And if you don't, hey, what happens? We're talking about Black Sun Syndicate.
Oh, good call.
Just all of Black Sun.
I'm just doing all of Black Sun. You guys got to do super awesome things like all of the Wookiees and TIE fighters. I thought I'd do something very scummy and discuss about
No, love it.
Yes. Yep, alright.
Hit us.
Now, every time it's my turn, I always say this, but I'm going to talk about both lore and canon.
Yep.
Okay.
Because the Black Sun is canon. It wasn't until recently, but it became canon towards the end of the Clone Wars saga with Maul. So Black
what
Sun's
happened?
a thing, which is awesome.
what happened? What was Black Sun to do with Maul?
Oh, so I will get to it.
Okay.
And I'll let you know when it becomes real.
Pay attention.
So there will be a test.
Damn it.
So the Black Sun, it was a criminal syndicate in the Galactic Empire. It started during the Clone Wars, because it turns out when, the Republic has a bunch of battlefronts and things go down, law and order is not necessarily a thing they care about so much. They mostly care about shooting the droids and getting people onto their side so they can shoot more droids. Or, if you're Sidious, just take over the universe. Like, hey.
Just casually?
Think big. Aim for the stars. So, during the Clone Wars, there was a series of, smaller collectives of, gangs and stuff. And as these worlds started to fall apart and they lost the law, they lost the order, all of these gangs got together and were like, look, if we team up, no one's going to mess with us. We could keep fighting each other all we like, but if we get together, this could be big. And they did. And so they actually went to these planets and these cities there was no law and order, and they brought law and order. And what might not have been the best. And since there's a great saying, better a black sun than none.
Oh.
Yeah. And so that's how they kind of came about. They were just doing their normal, glitter stim. They were drug dealers. They're the mob.
You know what? It's sort of mimics real world stuff we often see in sort of when state power collapses. It's often the criminal gangs that take over the infrastructure and actually provide the quote unquote governance.
Yeah.
War really brings people together.
It does.
As the saying goes.
Yeah. War, what is it good for? Well, apparently.
So, what happened during the Clone Wars? Now, this is where it gets a bit of canon. I'm going to bring it in the canon. According to canon, the Black Sun had been around for quite a long time, and they had been. They've always sort of been around. They just got really big in the Clone Wars. And so Maul goes to him when he decides that he's going to take over Mandalore and he's going to become the Great Mandalore. Anyway, so he gets with the Death Watch, and he goes around to all of the Black Sun. He goes to the huts. He goes to everyone, and he says, "Listen, you're going to help me take Mandalore." And they're like, "All right." And then he kills them. He kills the leaders and goes, "So, who wants to help me take Mandalore?" And they go, "Me."
Sure.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so he goes and he takes Mandalore for a very brief time, and then he fights the leader of Death Watch and takes over Mandalore. And then he gets killed, and then he gets deplatformed or disposed by Darth Sidious when he comes in, and they have that cool lightsaber fight. Anyway, moving on. That's sort of where they are in the canon. In the history. Other one that is not canon. I'm tired.
No, it's all right, man.
They continue. They in the age of the Empire, they were really big, like hut-sized big. They had tens of thousands of people working for them, and some even say that the Galactic Empire just couldn't fight them. They weren't big enough to fight. Sorry, they were too big to fight, but too small to commit that many troops. They weren't a big enough issue to commit that many troops, and they would need to commit a lot of troops because they have tens of thousands. So it kind of wasn't great, especially because they started taking slaves, because that's a very lucrative business. Not great, but they weren't any friends to Vader or Palpatine, and Palpatine and Vader kind of came in and killed most of them, most of the leaders. after they had a disagreement, because turns out one of their leaders had tried to finagle a deal from Sidious before he knew he was Sidious, and then Vader came in and killed him. Then Prince Shizor comes into the picture.
Ah, good old Prince.
Oh, and he makes it big. He makes it really, really big. Brings back all their kind of falling apartness, unites the tribes, and but then, as empires rise and fall, and he found out that they actually were they were helping with the construction of the second Death Star. But
They were?
Like, helping how?
they were like transporting parts.
Oh.
Yeah, they were. That's how big they were. They were
Okay.
big enough to literally be a logistics company for the Galactic Republic or the Empire. But Sidious kind of knew that, like, listen, they're not going to hold their tongues. So we need to do something about it. And then Vader comes in. He finds out that Prince Shizor is trying to kill Luke Skywalker because he somehow found out that Luke Skywalker is Darth Vader's son. And so Vader has to go kill him.
I remember that from Shadows of the Empire. I think his plan was to make Vader look bad, wasn't it? He thought, if I kill
Something like that,
Skywalker,
yeah.
Vader will look bad, because, yeah.
How'd that go for him?
Bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Vader. Like,
Didn't work.
You just killed him. And that's kind of it. They continue on in lore after Shizor falls, but they never really rise back up to the prominence they had during during the Republic and the Clone Wars. Shizor was kind of like the last great leader, and after that it was just infights and squabbles, and it was just kind of like, yes, we're definitely the Black Sun, fear us, but not really.
Yeah, and I think Guri was kicking around at the time of Shizor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Guri was actually originally the person I was going to do this on.
Yeah.
But she is Shizor's bodyguard, and she is an android.
Yeah.
And she's a class 4 android,
Yeah.
whatever that means.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you're gonna search Google for Guri, put safe search on. Just saying.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm doing this.
Fan art, man.
Guri is like, if you, like, Guri is
Battlestar Galactica.
is like
Don't-
Westworld.
don't
Oh, yeah.
do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
When I typed in Guri into Google, what I got was Punjabi singer Guri Punjabi. And he's just a dude. Really
Yeah.
nice hair.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
But
But, yeah, Guri's like like the Terminator, or like somebody out of Westworld
yeah.
kind of thing. She's a
Yeah.
sort of cybernetic
The
kind of...
Terminator 3 when they brought in that girl.
Well,
basically.
actually, again, it's the Star Wars, that 90s period of Star Wars expanded universe. I mean, it's so 90s,
What if we made a character who was like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
but really hot.
except sexy?
Yeah.
How is Arnold Schwarzenegger not sexy?
Oh, yeah, there's
That's
that.
a good point.
Yeah.
Except female and sexy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he really can't compete with that.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the long and short of the Black Sun.
Nah, that's cool.
We were entertained.
So I and sort of peripheral to that, so I used to play the Star Wars Old Republic MMO, the massively online game.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
And look, you know
Were they
what?
a big part of it?
Sorry?
Were they a big part of it?
On one of the starting zones in the Coruscant homeworld, a lot of missions and a lot of stuff revolved around fighting and working with the Black Sun. You'd go through Coruscant and there'd be Black Sun insignia spray painted on walls and stuff like that.
Which, if you know the Scum Z95s have that symbol on the wings, and that symbol on the
Yep.
original Star Viper model, that's
Yep.
the Black
Yes.
Sun.
That's
Yeah.
the Black Sun logo.
Yeah.
It's
So
black
look-
and it's white and it's awesome.
Yeah, and so I guess, that's just sort of like I suppose it makes it sort of, I don't know, a criminal gang that was in operation for tens of thousands of years, so...
Yeah.
So it's like the Illuminati. It was around.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time. It's running everything, but we can't prove it.
Yeah. What do you mean we can't prove
But
it?
it also might not exist anymore.
Anymore, sorry. I like the fact that anymore was thrown in the end there. Like, you're acknowledging that it did exist.
I had a meeting last night. Oh, sorry.
I didn't get invited to that.
Sorry.
Oh.
No, you need to know like two of the people.
Sorry, like it was level 36 only and above.
Oh, I hate being level 35.
I know.
Alright, we should move on to close the show out.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerve herder!
It's the end of the night, and as a change, I don't need to drive for 2 hours to get home, which is lovely. I could just go straight to bed. I'm very tired. So, like every time, we'd like to do some shout-outs. Lockie, you want to start us?
Okay, first thing, shout out to Dan Hale, who follows our Facebook page, and not long ago, in one session, liked 57 of our posts.
Good on ya.
Overnight, I woke up sort of bleary-eyed the next morning and checked my phone, and Facebook was like, "Hey man, Dan visited." And I was like, "Oh, hey Dan."
Oh, hey Dan.
So, yeah.
Gisli from H3ll Squadron Radio in Iceland. How cool is that?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
we said Gisli last time, and he told us that was not right.
Yeah, so apologies for that.
Sorry, Gisli.
Yes, but nominated for the same Goldie Award as us, so fantastic, as is Bruno from Millennium Condor in Canada. Can I just say, they're two countries I literally want to go to.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah, no, like, 'cause Canada is where my partner's from. Iceland I want to go because of the whole Viking thing.
Yeah.
Small little fact, H3ll, I think, is the old Roman reference for furthest north. It's like...
Ah.
Yeah, so it's like... that's why I think it's a very cool name.
Nice work.
Yeah.
I want to shout out to Mark Ellsworth and John Grimm for liking our audio drama. Thanks, guys.
Thank
you
you.
reached out to us, and it was really nice. And
Yeah.
we put a lot of effort into that. I am
the editing...
reeling from that.
Yeah. You did well, man. The sound editing was great. I think you did a fantastic job.
Bit off way more than I can chew, and I can tell you it was something like... I think I worked out to be something like 30 minutes per minute of recording.
Wow.
So I was doing it for a while. But I was on holiday, so it was fine.
Yeah. John says we make a positive contribution to the game. That is lovely. So thank you very much.
And Dale Cromwell liked the audio drama as well. He was actually the first person to reach out and congratulate us for that. So we actually have a special guest to do his shout out.
I'm TX15, but you can call me Tex. We want to thank our friend Jack Murray for writing the audio drama Blitz in Space. Further thanks go to everyone who sent us encouraging words about the show, and a special shout out to Dale Cromwell who liked my lines in particular. They were the best lines, and Dale has excellent taste.
Thank you, Tex.
I love text.
Can we make text a thing? We need text in every show.
It's so good. When we first started putting text together, we're like, oh, how are we going to do Tex's voice? Are we just going to do, like, are we going to speak, like, robotically? And is that going to be weird? What was your idea, Lockie, to be what he is? He just doesn't have context, and everything he says is just kind of straight-faced, and I love it.
Beamy Jammer 01 or Beamy Jammer 01 liked our last episode on Podbean. So thank you very much for that, Jammer.
Another shout out to Lachlan Orman. He says we're one of his favourite podcasts because of our positive vibe, and Sean Cole says we're upbeat. And look, thanks guys. Hopefully you were okay with this episode.
Yeah.
Still upbeat in our own salty way.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. I
Last
suppose.
shout out before I say something, and I think I spoke to you about this, Lockie, but it's brand new news. Brad Morin, he came up to me when we were playing. I was playing a game of X-Wing or Legion or something, and he said, "Hey, I know your voice. You're Owen." And I was like, "Yes, I am. Nice to meet you." And he actually kind of knows you, Lockie, doesn't he? Like, you guys know each other.
Yeah. We met a couple of times when back when I used to play at Games Lab. Bumped into him a few times. Yeah, he's a really nice bloke.
Nice guy.
Yeah,
he's really nice. And so he's actually got his own podcast for Bolt Action. So if you like Bolt Action, Bolt Action is a World War II or just World War simulator game, much like Legion, except army themed.
Yeah.
But apparently he's sort of doing more and more Legion stuff. So if you guys are into that, then hey.
Yeah.
His podcast, his name is Cast Dice.
Yep.
Yeah.
I spoke to Brad last night, actually. He's a nice guy, and I think he did mention he's kind of thinking about branching out into other things, which is cool. So I'll give it a listen, I say.
Oh.
Support local.
Support your local podcaster.
Yeah, exactly.
I just realised how clever Cast Dice is as a name for a podcast.
Yes. Yes, the die has been cast.
Oh, wait on. Oh, no, actually, now I get it. Yeah, it's a podcast.
The jokes, they're real.
Was that an analogy or a metaphor?
I never found out the difference.
Can somebody post to Facebook what the difference is?
Someone with year 10 English, please tell us. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to say is that I am getting
Sorry, go.
frustrated
Alright.
by our Facebook likes page.
Oh, so close.
We have been so close to 500 likes for months now, and we've been getting them incrementally, maybe like one a day, which is lovely, and everyone who's new, thank you for joining. I think I've decided...
Yes?
I'm funding this, so don't worry, guys. What I want you guys to do is like our page, share anything from our page, anything at all, and once we hit the 500 mark, we will pick someone for sharing from the sharing pages, like our page, share our page, sort of thing, and I will send you a Hell of a Pilot t-shirt.
Oh. There's incentive.
Yeah.
Yes, you can wear t-shirts like we wear t-shirts in our stupid skits. Anyway, so that's the deal, guys. If you like our page, we want to get out there.
Like and share.
Like and share anything from our page.
Yes.
And you're in the draw. And hopefully next time we record, once we hit the 500 mark, the recording after, we will draw it from a hat. Most noblest of ways. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the night. It's 9 o'clock now. It was a good meal. It was like partially salty, a little bit sweet.
Seasoned.
The best time. Seasoned well. Anyway, guys, thanks for